Well, the projects that we're working on right now, everybody seems to be focusing on the organization of traffic flows, public traffic flows, and I think that's important in the city of Philadelphia because there's so many people that if you don't begin to organize it, you get areas like the 30th Street Station bus stop, which is what we're designing on organizing and kind of making it better, that area. So if you don't have architecture that begins to organize and begins to take into effect the amount of people and the amount of systems that are overlapping, it just gets chaotic. But I think that Temple University and Philadelphia do well with organizing that.
Temple University Campus Safety Services. We're here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to assist Temple students, employees, and visitors. We're a key resource for the university.
I feel like Temple's campus is relatively safe when you're inside a Temple campus. Like I remember the other day there was a mugging at the bell tower. And it wasn't that everybody was so scared, like, oh my God, Temple's unsafe. It was that like Temple is so safe that was such a surprise, basically.
Do I feel safe on Temple campus? Yes, I do, for several reasons. There's a lot more people on campus than in the surrounding area, and there's always people walking around. We also have the Temple security, which are kind of our hired eyes on the street, if you will, that tend to keep an eye out more so than in other areas. And definitely, I live in Philadelphia between kind of Fishtown and Kensington. And I definitely feel a little bit safer on campus because I know there's always people out. In my neighborhood, there's a lot of vacant lots and vacant buildings, and we definitely don't have security patrolling at all hours of the night. So it's a little bit scary coming home from studio. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel safe on campus.
I think Temple campus very much so has very heavy architecture, where I mean, it's a very brutalist form. Look at Gladfelter and Anderson; they're very much there. They don't really interact very well with the surrounding area. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't even know that mezzanine area on the second floor exists.
And one time I had a friend come visit, and she was coming from the train station. The first buildings you see are Gladfelter and Anderson, and she was like, "This is kind of like a flashback to, I don't know, some like 80s architecture or something." And I think it is. And then when you see like the Fox School of Business, which is supposed to be more contemporary, there's kind of like some gaps in the architecture.
Temple campus doesn't really have that much green space. But if you look at the 2020 plan, I mean, you start to see that they're really aiming for a large public green space that everybody can gather on. It's not just going to be Beery Beach, it's going to be like Beery Island. It's very rare, it's very important to have those green spaces because if you just have so many buildings, people start to get like down and such, especially in like the summertime or the spring or fall seasons. It's nice to be able to like go outside in between classes. I mean, I've fallen asleep outside, just in between classes, just taking a nap or reading a book outside. It's just nice leisure space, or just going out and playing football with your friends or frisbee. It's just something that it's rare in the city to be able to find space like that, and it's nice that Temple provides that area and is looking towards providing more of that area as the campus is expanding.
Mm-hmm.
I do not feel like Temple is integrated very well within the city, just because it's almost a very inwards-facing campus. Like if you look at Gladfelter and Anderson, it's really a barrier. It's kind of a filtration device of what is allowed in, what you're allowed to see. Like it kind of funnels you right towards the train station and keeps out everything else.
I think Temple likes to think it makes a good effort at integrating itself with the city, but there's definitely a divide between the campus and the community, and it's pretty clear too, even if you just drive down Broad Street. Like, you are driving through North Philly and it's dark and it's quiet at night, and then you hit Temple campus and it's literally like day. There's so many lights. And we kind of tend to fence things off, or, we have security, who kind of patrols the perimeter and keeps us cordoned off a little bit. So it is a little bit weird. I mean, I remember when I first came here, I felt weird coming onto campus as like someone who lives in Philly, because it is a totally different world. And it's definitely got a little bit of a campus bubble going on. Maybe not as much as UPenn in University City, but it definitely does kind of have separate feel to it.
Definitely, I would think that the safest places are Lake Chorus and the Bell Tower, because they're well lit and because people pass by through there all the time. But once you start getting a little bit farther away from campus, and when you start getting towards like Broad and where Temple's campus meets the neighborhoods out around it, I feel like there's just tension between the communities. But that's gentrification, I guess.
There's no reason for a lot of people to go off campus either. And I mean, that's not necessarily a problem. I mean, some people in the neighborhood might say they don't want like the students going out and causing trouble off campus either. But it definitely creates this kind of tourist mentality where like you're in the city, you don't really live here, you don't feel obligated to take care of it, and you just kind of come in and get what you want from it and then leave.
I think you just gotta break it down to the basics. Like, you need to look at every element, understand their necessities, and then try to see how one part of one aspect can benefit the other, or how one can take away from something of the other, and just play around with it basically, and just kind of see what you get. It's definitely observational. It's definitely, observation is an observation of the experience sometimes, and I think architecture begins to form and shape that. So, yeah, architecture is about creating space, and the space you create filters people through. So, yeah, I think it is important understanding that.